Hello and welcome back to our AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Certification Bootcamp. In this module, we'll dive into the world of caching for Amazon DynamoDB. While DynamoDB is incredibly fast, but some workloads require even lower latency. In this video, we'll demystify DynamoDB Accelerator or DAX capabilities, explain how DAX works, and highlight its benefit when used with DynamoDB. We'll also dive into the key differences between DynamoDB Accelerator and ElastiCache, two powerful caching services that offer in-memory caching solution. Understanding these differences and their respective use cases is crucial for your certification and designing high-performance applications. On behalf of the CloudExpert Solutions team, I would like to thank you for joining us and exploring this video. Let's get started. First, let's understand the core problem. Imagine a social media app with millions of users accessing a trending post, all those read requests hitting your DynamoDB table. Even with its low latency, it can create a bottleneck. Then what is the solution? The solution is caching. DynamoDB Accelerator or DAX provides a dedicated high-speed memory cache designed specifically for DynamoDB to solve this exact problem. Let's understand what is DAX. Amazon DynamoDB Accelerator or DAX is a fully managed, highly available caching service built for Amazon DynamoDB. DAX delivers up to 10 times performance improvement from milliseconds to microseconds, even at millions of requests per second. AWS does all the heavy lifting required to add in-memory acceleration to your DynamoDB tables without requiring developers to manage cache invalidation, data population, or cluster management. As DynamoDB is compatible with existing DynamoDB API, no application logic modification is required. Similar to DynamoDB, you only pay for the capacity you provision, and you can offload read requests from DynamoDB, which will potentially lower your provision capacity need. DAX uses a default TTL of 5 minutes. To keep its cache fresh with the underlying DynamoDB table, you can configure a different TTL to balance cache freshness with retrieval speed. Now let's review how DAX works. Your application is configured to talk with the DAX endpoints. When it needs data, DAX checks its in-memory cache first. If the data is there, a cache hit happens and it's return the data in millisecond. If it's a cache miss, DAX fetches the data from DynamoDB, adds it to the cache, and then returns it to your application. Now you must be thinking, how much application code do I have to change? You don't have to write any extra code to manage the cache. DAX is API compatible. Just replace your DynamoDB endpoint with DAX endpoint. Now let's understand the difference between DAX and ElastiCache. This is a critical distinction for the examination. You will likely face scenarios where you need to choose between DAX and ElastiCache. The fundamental difference is specialization versus flexibility. DAX is a purpose-built plug-and-play cache specifically for DynamoDB, and DAX is based for read-heavy applications which is using only DynamoDB. On the other hand, ElastiCache is a general-purpose, highly flexible cache that can be used with DynamoDB or any other data sources like RDS, Aurora and all, but that flexibility comes with complexity. With ElastiCache, you are responsible for managing the cache invalidation and ensuring data consistency in your application code. One more distinction, if you have a single database that is only DynamoDB, and if you want to store individual object, or if you want to directly cache, scan or query results without any mathematical operations like aggregation or without any changes, then DAX is your go-to option. However, if you want to store aggregated result, then ElastiCache is the option for you. I have logged into AWS Management Console. To access DAX from service search option, I have to type DynamoDB. The first service in the service search option, I'll click DynamoDB. From the left hand side, under DAX, you have clusters, subnet groups, placement groups, and events. Subnet group, placement group, we are going to cover while clicking that cluster. You don't have to create separately. Now let's click cluster. And now let's create our first DAX cluster. To create a cluster, we'll click create cluster. For the cluster name, I am going to use CX DAX demo. And for the cluster description, I am going to use CloudExpert Solutions DAX demo. You can choose whatever the name and description you like. From node family, either you can choose T family or R family, or you can choose all families, then you will have all the different options. Let's take DAX R7i large, which will come with 2 vCPU and 16 GB memory. That is the lowest option available for us. Cluster size by default is 3, but you can create between 1 to 11. AWS recommends you to create a cluster with 3. For this demo, let's go with the default option. We'll click next. Now in network setting, we can select either IPv4 or IPv6 or dual stack. For this demo, I am going to select IPv4. Subnet group, if you already have a subnet group, you can choose an existing. I am going to create a new. For the subnet group name, I am going to use CX DAX demo subnet group, and the description I am going to use CloudExpert Solutions DAX demo subnet group. VPC, I'll go with the default VPC. Now in terms of subnet, I'll choose 3 available subnets. Then access control, I'll go with the default security group. Availability zone, either you can choose a specific availability zone or you can choose automatic. For the demo, I will select automatic and now click next. Now we have to configure IAM permission. If you already have an IAM role, you can choose the existing one. However, I am going to create a new. The IAM role name, I am going to use CS DAX IAM role. You can choose whatever the name you want. I am going to create a policy, and you can create either a read-only policy or read-write. I'll go with read-write. Access to DynamoDB, either you can provide to all tables or to a specific table. Ideally, if you have multiple DynamoDB tables, you can go with all the tables. Encryption at rest and in transit is enabled by default. I don't find an use case to disable the encryption. That is why I'll proceed with encryption as enabled. Now I am going to click next. In terms of parameter group, I already have an existing one. That is why I am going to choose the default DAX 1.0. If you do not have, you can create a new. However, I'll go with existing one. Other details, maintenance window, I do not have a preference. If you want to set a maintenance window, you can specify the date and time. I'll go with no preference. Tagging is optional. And then we have to click next. In this screen, you are going to review all the options you have selected for the DAX cluster. And if you are satisfied with all the options, the last step is create cluster. Please remember, there is no free tier for DynamoDB Accelerator. If you are going to press create cluster, AWS is going to charge you real money. Now to summarize, DAX is your go-to for simple, low latency on DynamoDB reads, whereas ElastiCache provides a more general, flexible and powerful caching layer when you have a complex data need or multiple data sources. For the exam, please pay close attention to the details in the scenario. Look for keywords like read heavy DynamoDB to point you towards DAX, and look for multi-source caching or complex caching logic which will direct you towards ElastiCache. That wraps up this module. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more AWS exam preparation courses and cloud certification bootcamps. Got questions or feedback? Drop them in the comment. We love to hear from you. Thanks for learning with us at CloudExpert Solutions. You are now one step closer to crushing your exam. See you in the next module.